And those who we deal with on different bases is really not in comparison to the nation of Israel. It's a very small thing. And Pastor Carter, I cannot imagine the pressure he gets under with some of the situations. Just see. Sometimes you guys can see things happening. We all see things happening, but there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Problems going on that people have to deal with, and they go to our pastor to deal with them, and rightfully so. And so Moses is dealing with things left and right, and so he asks for wisdom, and so he gets these judges, places them order over tens, hundreds, fifties, and I think even thousands, and so they had judges over judges, and so on and so forth. So then we're here at Exodus chapter 21. That was 18. 20 is the Ten Commandments. Exodus 21 starts talking about servants. I want you to go with me, verse 1. It says, "Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go free for nothing." Every 7 years they had to release their slaves. And they would borrow money to buy things and things like that. And as they would buy it, they became bond servants, just like you do to Visa and American Express and all those other ones. And so they become bond servants. But at 7 years, now I wish Visa and American Express would do that, just forgive you of everything. But it doesn't work that way, amen? But verse 3, it says, "If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him." Verse 4, this is where we kind of really get into the message today. It says, "If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say," and this is where I want you guys to get it, "if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out with him." It means he had the freedom to go at 7 years. His dues were done. He no longer owed a debt. But he decided at that time, I no longer owe anything, which is the place where we're at. Jesus Christ paid our debt. We no longer owe a thing. Our sin debt is gone. I'm not working for that. But the servant would come to a place where he said, I love my master and my wife and my children. I want to give you some really good practical reasons to be a free servant. Because it's a good life. It's a good life. Are there times that are difficult? Absolutely. But there's a lot of more times where you just get to enjoy it. We've been working on the bathrooms, and Monday as we tore them out, everything smelled like urine. Okay? It doesn't smell that way anymore, but everything smelled like urine. Even the girls' side. Alright? Not just the boys' side. It was nasty. And Monday, on that same day, everything smelled like urine. I did not get to see my son for 30 seconds, either one. I woke up before they got up, and I went into work, and I got home after they went to bed. No lunch, and I was, that's fine. Tuesday, I saw Tucker for 30 seconds in the morning. That was it. And he'd come in the room right as I was walking out, and I said, "Oh, it's good to see you." And I'd seen his haircut that he got on Monday. You guys, how many of you missed the curly hair? It was gone. I seen him Tuesday morning come out of his bedroom. I was like, "What happened to you?" Like something happened in the middle of the night. But his hair was all gone. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but it was gone, okay? And so, but that's not fun to not be with your family. But my wife's still good to me. My wife still brought me lunch on Wednesday or whatever day it was. I don't remember. Maybe it was Tuesday. I don't know. Get them all mixed up. You get it in the midst of it and everything like that. There are times it's hard, but I love my master. If you have any other reason to be a free servant, it's because you love your master. Who's your master? The Lord Jesus Christ. This guy said, I'm not willing to go out free. I know my debt's been paid. I'm done. And there are a lot of people who will not serve the Lord. They will come to church and they will sit on Sunday morning. If you're lucky, you'll get them Sunday night and Wednesday night. But they will never do anything for God. Why? Because they don't love their master. They don't love their master. Their debt's been paid, and they're glad their debt is paid. But they don't love their master. They won't pray. They won't soul win. They won't witness. They won't go visiting. They won't even go see people in the hospital unless that person has been good to them and loved them in return. And they're not doing that because they love their master. They're doing that because they love the person that's in the hospital. I serve people I don't want to serve because I love my master. There are people I don't want to deal with. But because my master loves them, and they're in my master's house, I love them and I serve them because I love my master. You think that everything under the master's house, the servant says, yeah, I can't wait to do this. Hey, you got their bathroom. They didn't just go and wipe a toilet down to clean a bathroom. Okay? Their bathroom is nasty. There are a lot of people don't want to clean bathrooms in the ministry because it smells like urine. I get that. I don't like dealing with urine. But I'd rather clean a bathroom now than clean an Exodus bathroom. Amen? Digging out the latrine a little bit deeper. I don't want to be in the middle of that. But that servant did it because he loved his master. Get to a place where you love your master. You will do anything for your master because you love him. He says, if the master have given you your wife and your children, if you want to keep them, you stay with your master. The only reason my wife is in my life is because of my master. And I can tell you that my woman, she is a good woman. My wife is a good lady. If I ever get away from the Lord, she will stay with me for a while. But if I don't come back, that'll be the end of it. Because she's a good woman. He tells this servant, he says, if he comes in without a wife and he marries one of your servants, my wife was a servant of the master. When it's his time to go and he decides to go, because his debt is paid, you keep your wife. You keep that maid. You keep those children. And just because you go walking off some edge doesn't mean the rest of your family's happy. Don't put all them in a punishment. That's something extra. That's I didn't plan on getting into all that. Let's go down to verse 6. This is the key of the message here, verse 6. The Bible says, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, and unto the doorposts, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. You have to love your master to be a free slave. Something else I want you to know is, the Bible says that he takes him unto the judges. There are people that witness this happening. There are people that will see you as a servant, or they'll see you as somebody that's not a servant. They'll pick up on it awful quick. Your bus kids already know if you're there to serve them or if you're just there. They already know it. If you don't think they know it, if you don't think they can read your spirit, you're a fool. They know whether you love them and care for them because your master does. And if they can pick up on it, they know. As the kids at the day school, they could tell if I did not love them, they would read it like that. And there's probably some of them that can tell that I'm not as favorable to them as I ought to be. Right? And it's hard to be favorable of everybody, but we have to. So, it says that he brings him to the judges. I want you to notice the first thing. We're going to look at a couple things here. His master marks him. You want to be a free servant. He did not get a mark for the first 7 years, for the first 6 years. That 7th year, he was free, and he's given that opportunity. All right, your debt's paid. You don't owe anything. You're good to go. Go ahead, go out free. And he could say, wait a second, master, I love you. I want to be with you. I want to stick with you. But if you're going to do that, I have to mark you. And there's a lot of people walking around unmarked because they're not wholly devoted to their master. They have no marking. So if you walk throughout Israel during that day and time, there would be a lot of people, Lord willing, who loved their master who had a hole in their ear. People could say, who's your master? Because there was a clear marking. I have a master. A lot of people want to be their own master. serve their own goals, have their own agendas. I don't know about you. I want somebody to lay it down for me and say, this is what I want. This is when I want it. This is how I want you to do it. The Bible does that for us. And with that, I get marked. You have to allow your master to mark you. I guarantee you, this was not something that was looked for. This was not part of the ceremony that everybody was like, yeah, I'm going to get a hole drilled in my ear today. They're going to run an ice pick through it. That's essentially what an awl is. It's an ice pick. I would not be excited about that. Okay? I can't, you ladies go and get your ear pierced, that's good for you. Never in a million years will I let them take something and punch it all the way through my skin. Okay? You can have that. I don't want that. But spiritually in this day and age, God needs to run an awl through you. And you need to be marked with everything that is God. People need to look and say, wow, that person's different. I can see something that is identifiably clear. That person has a master. A lot of, if you look at these people, I see people who have their own master, and you can tell they have their own master. They serve themselves. To be honest, I know the last name, and I'm not going to tell you. I don't even know the first name. I don't get too bogged down with different things like that. But we have some families in the school, and there's one particular family. They are never on time. I mean, never, ever, ever on time for anything. Okay? Drives me crazy. Why? Because they are their own masters. They are the master of their sleep schedule. They'll get up when I want to get up. I'll go to bed when I want to go to bed. And that's not going to work for you to be a servant. I don't know about you. I have to have a deadline. I have to be at work by 7:30. Have there been times when I was late? Yes. Okay, I will admit to that. But I am there typically at the latest by 7 o'clock on a regular, usual day. That's my regimen. I have to do that. Would I like to sleep in a little bit more? Maybe. It happens sometimes. I slept in late one day this week because I accidentally did not set my alarm. And things got a little crazy. Had to kill a snake and everything before I got out of the house that day. And it was one of those things, but you have to be regimented. A servant does not have his own schedule. You have a master, and that master says, hey, this is what I need you to do. This is where I need you to be. And you got to be marked by your master. I want you to know something. It brings him to the doorpost of the house. Not only is marked, he is closely associated with his master's house. We got enough people in the world trying to run ministries without church. God help. We are a local church ministry. God help if any of you ever decide you're going to go out and do something without a church. If you're going to be a missionary, you have to have a sending church. You have to. There is no way around that. It's in the Bible. You have to have a sending church. You have to have somebody that you're responsible to. And you have to be associated with the church. You say, well, I just want to be a layman in a church. I've heard people, they were out street preaching and said, oh, what ministry are you from? Well, I just do this myself. But that's a bunch of foolishness. Where are you going to send people? You haven't got any place to send them. He's closely associated with his master's house. He had his ear pinned to it. Amen? If you get your ear pinned to something, you're close to it. You ever seen... Hannah's here. I imagine this probably happened to her when she was little as well. Whenever little Lillian gets in trouble, they snatch her by the ear. I see Lily walking like this, okay? Because her ears, her mom's got her ear, right? That ever happened to you, Hannah? No, never. Now, I haven't quite gotten to that place yet with my children. Maybe I should. I don't know. I snatch them by the hand, and you'll see my sons going like this sometimes. Sometimes they're happy about it because they don't know what's coming yet. And the other times, they know that this is a bad thing, okay? We're going to the bathroom. Oh, I'm going potty. No. Okay? So, but, you get grabbed by the ear to something, it's evident. You're there all the time. Every day, the servant was at his master's house. Every day. Every time the kitchen was open, the servant was doing something in the kitchen. Every time the gates were opening, the servant was there to serve the visitors that day. We got so many people at the master's house that act like they're the guests. They pretend they're the ones there. Hey, servants are not guests in their master's house. They can go back to their master's house and find a place. I don't know about you. I can go to an altar. I can give you the address. I can take you to the place. I can take you exactly where it was, where I said, I'm going to give my life to the Lord. And a servant can go to his master's doorpost. He can look up here. He said, you see that hole right there? He said, that's where I got my ear pierced through because my master marked me. I decided that I was no longer going to be a bond slave, but I was a free slave because he loved me. He said, I could not render unto him what I would like to give unto him. So I just gave him my entire life. If I could give him a perfect life, I would give him a perfect life, but I know I can't. So I'll give him what I can. He has to plainly say, I love my master. Well, we got a lot of people in the church today that don't plainly say, I love my master. We're going to turn to one last place. I want you to go with me. I'd already planned to go here before Pastor went there last night, but go to John, the last chapter of John. I can't remember if it's 21 or 22. I think it's 22. I think John has 22 chapters, if I remember correctly. 21? That's close enough. Last chapter. Amen? That's accurate. John chapter 21. Jesus Christ has died, risen up again from the dead. Peter said, I go a-fishing. He had his own agenda, had his own plan, knew what he wanted to do, knew where his skill sets were. And sometimes you're asked to do things that you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. Brother Parsons asked me to take over director studies. I told him, I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. Brother Versailles is still sitting there saying he had no idea what he was doing. Amen? All right? I know that's accurate. He calls me today, what are you doing about this? I said, I plead the fifth. Amen? And so, there are things that I did that I know were wrong looking back at it. Let's skip down. We know the story. I want you to go with me. Verse 15. It says, so when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, and I'm sure this was a quiet dinner. Jesus Christ has come back from the dead. They went a-fishing, and they knew they were in the wrong. They knew they had dropped everything that Jesus Christ had taught them. They knew they were in the wrong. It says, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? More than what? More than the fish. What I think the Lord's talking about. He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my lambs. What? Feed me. They're my lambs. You feed my lambs. You're my servant. Go down to verse 16. He saith unto him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Verse 17, he saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? The Bible says Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? I look at Peter's answer. He said, Thou knowest all things, thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. I can kind of see this situation. I don't know about you. If I ask my wife something and she answers me, and I ask her again, by the time I get to the third time, she's like, what is your problem? Right? Anybody ever been there? Okay? Not yet. Okay? But you have friends and you ask them something. How many of you guys ever asked a stupid question? Dylan, okay, amen. Now this was not a stupid question that Jesus was asking Peter, but he said, Peter, lovest thou me? Peter said, Yea, Lord, you know I love you. Second time. The third time, Peter's like, Lord, you know I love you. I can see the Lord. This is not what come out. Jesus said, Feed my sheep. But Jesus could have said, why'd you go fishing? In Exodus, we read it, the servants plainly say, I love my master. I will stay with him forever for the rest of my life. Why are you fishing? What are you looking for? You guys think that you want to have some position at at a church, at a school. I want to pastor this church of 300 in the state of Kentucky or wherever you may want to go. Just do what God has for you. Feed a little tiny flock of sheep if that's all He wants for you. Not everybody's called to pastor a church of 1,200 people. But there will be people that God chooses to do that with. It's a big deal. It's better than going fishing. Sorry, Doug. Be a servant. Be a servant. You're going to be a free servant. There are two types of servants, the bond servant and the free servant. There are still people in the Church of God who either do something on Sunday morning or Sunday night or Wednesday night. They're not doing it because they love their master. They're doing it because He paid for their sins. Don't get me wrong. That's not a terrible reason. But the best reason is to do it because you love the master. My wife likes it when I do things for her. But when I do it because either I want her to do something for me, or I do it because she has asked me innumerable times to fix something, it's not a big deal. She's not very grateful. But when I do something completely random, I either bring her home something or I take her to do something, and she knows that I do it simply out of love, greatly. And you have a master. You can be a bondservant and do things because you feel like you have to. Or you can be a free servant that I know I paid my debt. I should say, my debt has been paid. I no longer have to work for this person. But because He's good. We read there in Psalm 116, verse 12, what shall I render unto the Lord for all His benefits toward me? I shall love Him and serve Him. I want to challenge you today. What type of servant are you? Are you a bond servant? Are you working for the Lord simply because you feel like you are obligated to do so? Because the obligation is, so to say, God, you don't have a debt to pay. But boy, He sure has been good to you, much above, beyond what you deserve. I remember the sermon. I don't remember the text. Kevin Hart preached it probably 4 years ago here at Landmark. I think it was within the first few weeks that I came back here to work in 2015. He preached a message on the priesthood. And there was, for the priests that decided they didn't want to serve the Lord the way they ought to. I don't know if you remember this. There was a punishment. Their punishment was to serve the Lord. But for the priests that loved serving the Lord, they were rewarded. Do you know what their reward was? Serving the Lord. You might as well do it and look at it as a reward than do it because you're obligated. If you serve on a bus because you're obligated to, because Dr. Pitt says you have to, that's an awful reason. Now, you have to do it regardless because you're a Bible college student and Landmark Baptist College. Amen? And every one of you has to ride a bus route. That's good. I'm all for it. But you might as well love it. Might as well say, I'm free to do this. I have a master who has been so good to me. I have a master who has paid for these buses, who has brought these children into the world. I have a master who has given me a Bible because He loves me. And I have a master who has given me a mother and a father because He loves me. I have a master who's given me all these things, and because He has been so good to me, I just want to serve Him. I want to be marked. I want to stay close to His house. Let's all stand, heads bowed and eyes closed. What type of servant are you today? Are you serving Him because you feel obligated to? Or are you serving Him because you love Him? Dear Lord, I thank You for this day. I pray that You be with each and every one of us, dear Lord. Pray that You help and remind me, dear Lord, of all this, dear Lord, this wonderful lesson. I pray that You would remind me to serve You because I love You, dear God. Not because I'm obligated to. My debt is paid in full. But because I love you, I'm going to stick with you through thick and through thin. I pray all this in Jesus' wonderful holy name. Amen. Lord, spoken to your heart. So I got this thing down, Brother Parsons. I am a servant. That Peter that we read about at the end, Peter Peter was a pretty good servant of the Lord. He just had attitude problems from time to time. It's not unlike me or unlike you. Maybe you just need to come and give it to the Lord. Lord, help me. As I serve you, to do it with the right attitude, with the right heart. It's a good message for you today. I live in a day and age where, very few servants, even in a room like this. If I had to rate you on a scale from 1 to 10, there'd be a very few servants in this room today. And I'm not trying to be mean and poke fun, but most of you will choose who you serve. And some of you love your bus kids and you'll serve them, but you won't serve the staff. And because you see, these are people that need me. I'm glad you see yourself as a debtor, as we talked about, to all men. And but even with that, some of you would serve everybody but your parents, and you have a problem with your parents. Some of you have a problem with everybody but your parents. And the greatest thing about serving the master is, and I kind of began that way, and my heart was that way today, because I just kind of, some things going on in my own life, and they make it tough to serve people. I'm so thankful a long time ago I just decided that it's so much easier for me to just love the master. And I'll always have a house because the master has a house. It's not my house, it's his house. I get to be there. I always have something to read because I have access to all the things the master wants me to have in his library. And it's not mine, it belongs to the master, but I have free access to it. And he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, so I'm never going to have to eat salad every day. I can be a carnivore the rest of my life. And I mean, there's some good things being a part of the master's house, amen, and just being his servant. But at the same time, it requires that whoever, doesn't matter who comes through the front door, I'm a master's servant, and I'll treat them the way the master asked me to. And it doesn't matter what I think about them. Doesn't matter. I don't get a say. I just belong to the master because I'm a part of his house, and because of it, I just serve. You imagine being Peter. We've read that passage. I preached on it. Pastors preached on it. Brother Tim brought it up in John chapter 21 here recently. I preached on it in college days, but really my heart's been kind of on Peter because so many people knock Peter for so many things, and I never would identify myself with the Apostle Paul, but I can identify with Peter in so many ways. And you imagine the situation that went on in his life. He was just told his expected end. You may not be able to read that passage and say that when you're old, you're going to stretch your arms and someone else will gird thee, but realize that Peter just saw the Lord Jesus Christ. He stood up and not girded. He said, you understand what Peter, he
He had the blessing of being girded when he was crucified. The Lord Jesus didn't get that. He was open, shamed, naked for the world. But he knew exactly what Christ was talking about. That explanation didn't pass over Peter. He knew how. Can you imagine being able to enter into the ministry of God and be told, this is how you're going to die for me, and have to live every day of the rest of your life with an expected end of crucifixion? And how that would change. And imagine how that would give you attitude and say, well, Lord, if that's what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to this guy? You know, it's real easy to point out. Pastor preached on it, but we need to get it because, you know, all that's been asked of us is to die daily, to crucify the flesh daily. See, I haven't expected him, but I know what's going to be in glory for me. I haven't expected him. It wasn't like Peter's. But what God asked of me in the book was for me to get up every morning and to crucify myself and live for him because he's my master. Amen. And listen, I tell you, if we could get a hold of it, when I talk about a room like this, very few servants, most of us are after serving ourselves. Our needs, our wants, our future, what we think is best for us, our belly, whatever it is, getting towards lunchtime, right? But if we could get a hold of just really serving God with our lives and whatever he asks of us, we'd serve people a lot better. People would come to Christ because they'd see him in us a lot better. All right. Done re-preaching it. All right. Come and talk to Brother Tim. Tell him you appreciate him, and then get to pastor's class because it's